And here comes the monster out of the black lagoon. And it's going to eat you up. So what can this image on the movie screen do to you? Children who don't know better get terrified. And adults do too, but they hide it. But if you recognize this is just a movie, not your movie, but just a movie, then I have no fear. Let that monster come eat me. Come on. Well, this is true of life in general, not just in the after-death experience. Come on, eat me, life. If it's time for me to be eaten, so let it be. If not, well, I'm not going to be worried. This is the end of neurosis. Well, it says here, it's not possible that any person, however evil or unknowing or stupid, would not be able to obtain liberation if he would but recognize the truth of the foregoing. And I think that's correct. But that's if he recognized the truth of that. However, those still not recognizing this truth will bring upon themselves the third phase of the after-death experience. How do we manage, Now we've been through the second stage. He's completely out of the body now, completely pulled away. He no longer even has a memory of having been Henry. He's clear out of it. He's swooned and buried in deep and experiences and nightmares that are horrendous. He no longer has any remembrance of having lived or what even a body means or life or any of those things. He's out of it. He's in a total spun-in, confused, mental morass. Unless he had understood that none of it could hurt him, and all he had to do was surrender and let it merge into him, and it would all vanish, and the truth would be apparent. But lacking this, he has to go then through phase 3, which is the realm of effort. Seeking rebirth. This part of the after-death experience is concerned with curiosity about, desire for, enforcement of, and inhibition from bodies. This is the whole thing about the individual's relationship with bodies. This has been a rough go he's had with the mind. And he's had enough of it. He said, look, life was bad, but nothing compared to this. I want to get born again. So, as soon as he has this desire to want to be born again, the whole story about his relationship with bodies begins to unfold. First, you explain to the guy here to help him out. Listen to me well. You quit calling him by name now, you see, because he's lost from all Henry. There is the phenomena of supernormal birth. Indeed, when you were experiencing the radiances of the constructive and the destructive aspects of beingnesses, you were unable to surrender to them, and so would pass into a state of unconsciousness. And now, having recovered from that state, find yourself with a body made of light. This is the etheric body. Resembling your former body and having the same faculties of sense, but endowed with the ability to move at will. It can fly through the air, go anywhere, be anywhere, any place on earth. Just like that. You are visible to beings with celestial eyes. In other words, beings like that on the same plane. If there are other people with their bodies can see you. But you are not visible to beings on earth with bodies. They won't be able to see. This body is originally the result of your curiosity about it, so that you created a thought form image of it. This is all incorrect. Anything that has to do with creation is wrong. And from your desire to have it, you caused it to persist. And actually, the etheric body is the form of God. If God had a form, and He does, it would look like an etheric body. That's a statue of one there. Jesus had an etheric body. This is the form of God. If God had a form, it'd have to be some form. It could have been six-fingered, but it wasn't. It's five. And it's the human form. Huh? The human form is copied off of the divine form. You will begin to have visions of your future place of birth. This is a very important principle. In the particular yoga that I am following now, called Sahaj Yoga, it is the firm view that one will not die, that is, make the decision to die, until another body is available somewhere. This is the view of the city. That you will never consent to letting go of the previous body until another one in the future is marked out. I haven't taken it over yet, but it's like I won't give up my Chevy until I know where my next Cadillac is coming from. Then I'll give it up. Instead of being attracted to the vision of your place of rebirth, rest your mind undistractedly in a nothing to do, nothing to hold on to condition. This is wise advice. Let the mind just be. There's nothing that has to be done. There's nothing I have to have. There's no place I have to go. And just let it be a rest. Nothing state. But as you start to use your will, whoop, off you will go to your place of rebirth. And you'll be automatically reborn. Now, if you're going to be reborn, you have two choices. To be driven automatically to what would happen by natural forces, or you can be liberated from these natural forces by not trying to use your own will. If you stop using your own will, then you'll be led to an optimum place of birth. Leave your mind in an unformed void, and you will be freed from having to have a body to which your past experiences would attract you. But if you use your will, then you will be automatically attracted, and you'll get yours in the next birth. That's where most of us are right now. Huh? We're getting ours. We were born into a family of such and such a nature, and that's just exactly what we deserve. However, if you had been able, and you may have, if you had been able to not use your will and let your mind just rest, then you would have been guided by the grace of God to an optimum birth, not one determined by your past karma. Listen to me carefully. Even if, while living, your body was blind or deaf or lame or impaired in some fashion, the body that you have now will have all of its sense organs unimpaired and very keen and complete. This is the nature of the etheric body. It has nothing wrong with it. Take this as an indication that you're dead. There's proof. Huh? You notice you don't look 85 years old anymore. You look 20. Ah, gad freak, I must be dead. Keep this in mind. You have a body seemingly fleshy, resembling the former, endowed with all the sense faculties and the power of unimpeded motion, possessing mentally miraculous powers, visible to pure celestial eyes of beings of like nature. This is a description of your present state. Unimpeded motion implies that your present body, being a desire body, is not a body of gross matter, and that you have the power to go through any wall, hill, or any physical barrier without being impeded, except that object called a baby's body. If you get around a baby body, you won't be able to penetrate through it. It acts as a trap. Or any body that was unoccupied by an individual. Usually those are baby bodies, just born, or about to be born. And if you get in the vicinity of one of those, this etheric body will not be able to pass through it. Like it can go through mountains and buildings and walls, and no problem. But it gets in the vicinity of an unoccupied body, its natural desires suck it into that body. And it's the desire to live in a body that traps you in the body. That makes obvious sense. In Sahaja Yoga, the desire body is purified so that it no longer has any desires. And then it becomes the pure etheric or divine body. And thus liberation is attained. You are empowered with the ability for miraculous actions. You can in a moment travel to any spot on earth. You can exercise the ability to make appear to you anything which you may desire. Visible to the pure celestial eyes of light nature implies that only beings who are in a similar state as yourself will be able to see your body. Instead of being concerned with them, ignore them and keep your attention upon the state of clear thought. Oh, it's tempting at this point to start playing with other celestial beings. If you do, you can, and you'll get about as tangled up in that activities as you have in these. So you'd be no better off. Just as you would be very wise now to not get so tangled up in your affairs with other people and keep things simple and pure. So on the etheric plane, it is also true that you should keep the mind simple and blank and not mess around with other etheric beings. You will perceive many places which you have a desire on earth to see. Niagara Falls. Wherever, if you've had a desire, you'll go and see these places. Huh? See what desire does for you? Free ticket. Also people that you want to see. As if you were seeing them in a dream. You will see your relatives and friends. Speak to them, but you will receive no reply. Then you'll say, hey, Aunt Marion, I've come to see you. She goes on fixing breakfast. You can pay attention. She can't see you. So you think, I'm dead. What shall I do? And having experienced this loss, you will be free, you will feel very miserable. Feeling miserable will achieve nothing now. I mean, you are dead, you're dead. So if you're going to face the truth, you're going to face the truth. And the truth is, you're dead. The body's dead, and you're out of it, and that's it, and Marion can't see you. But be not attached to your relatives and friends or your possessions, but fix your attention on the state of clear thought. Leave the mind blank. You will continue in this state for from 1 to 7 weeks or more. Sometimes more, but usually it's around that. How long is a person going to be in the after-death experience? Well, it's hard to say. How long are you going to be in the life experience? That's hard to say. Normally, it's around 50, 60, 70 years, something like in there, right? So we could say the life expectancy is 67 years. Well, it's the same way in the after-death experience. We say the life expectancy is 49 days. It's a natural cycle and tends to come out that way. But if one is liberated or has a tremendous compulsion to be reborn, it could be cut short, just as you could be killed in an automobile accident at 16. Or one could live to be 95. Not too often, but people do live that long. In the same way, people could spend a longer time in the after-death experience than 49 days also. But that's a pretty good figure. Depends on your past action, it says here. You will experience during this time all the hard-to-endure, confusing mental phenomena. Do not be afraid of what you see. It is your own attention wandering through the mind. Great masses of blackness will appear in front of you, and tremendous shouts of kill, kill, and destroy will come from the darkness. People who have done many evil things will re-experience all those evil acts coming back at them. They will see wild animals attacking them, and bitter cold and fierce winds striking them, and visions of being pursued by many people. Persons of this type will be terrified of these awesome sights and sounds, and will flee from them, not caring which direction they take. There will be 3 awesome precipices which will block their way. These are actually anger, lust, and stupidity, but appear as white, black, and red precipices. The feeling of falling over these precipices is actually the feeling of falling into the womb to be reborn. So, these 3 things, anger, lust, and ignorance, are the things that make you have to be reborn. And those are the things, of course, that make you miserable in this life also. And when you feel like you're falling into these things as weaknesses, and you're giving in again to anger and lust and stupidity, you're being reborn. If you are one of these type of people, keep the thought in mind. This is the best we can do for them. I will be born in a happy world. I will be born in a happy world. I will be born in a happy world. And keep saying that over and over again, and you'll get at least the best you can get out of the deal. Others who have done many good acts in their past will experience delightful pleasures and happinesses during the experiencing of the mind. And those who have neither merit nor evil deeds will experience neither pain nor pleasure, but will experience a colorless state of boredom. I don't know which is worse. No matter which state, you should experience fear not the terrors and desire not the pleasures, but think, I will surrender to the truth as it is. I'm changing what it says. Keep this in mind without thinking that you're thinking it. You will find yourself having short periods of rest and reprieve from the mind, but again your mind will carry you off to more wanderings. Because of your inability to maintain control over your thoughts, you will oftentimes feel perturbed and even panic-stricken, and you will become incoherent at times. In this state, this thought will occur to you, alas, I am dead, what shall I do? And because of this thought, that which is basically you, which is involved in consciousness, will be sad and experience a feeling of great loss and infinite misery. You think you've experienced misery. So the reason people can't remember the after-death experiences from the previous death is because of this intensity of the misery and the sense of total loss, and I'm just totally isolated from everything and everyone. Since you cannot rest in one place, you will feel impelled to go on. But think not of these things. Instead, allow your mind to be in an unformed state. You will think of your home. You will be there again, and you will see your relatives and your own dead body, and you will think, now I am dead, what shall I do? And being oppressed with intense sorrow and thought, the thought will occur to you, oh, what I would not give to possess a body. And with this thought in mind, you will wander about seeking a body. Even though you could re-enter your own dead body many times over, it would be useless to you. And finding no place to enter into, you will be dissatisfied and have the sensation of being squeezed into cracks and crevices. This is an interesting description. It is exactly accurate. If you imagine yourself as a disembodied spirit being squeezed into cracks and crevices amongst the rocks, that feeling is what it feels like when the mind gets so tight and you're so desperate and no place to go and nothing to defend yourself with or hide behind, you just... an interesting experience. Even though you seek a body, you will get nothing but trouble for your actions. Put aside the desire for a body and maintain an unformed state in the mind. And if you will do this, you will then be guided automatically to the proper body. Because once you reach this point, you're going to get born again. You've blown it. So all you can do is try to do as well as you can. Even so, it may be possible, because of the inability to surrender the mind, the deceased will not recognize the state. Therefore, speak to him again and say, what you are suffering comes from your own past deeds, for which you have not been willing to surrender. It is not due to someone else. Keep in mind that your own basic goodness is with you through all of what is about to transpire. Now we'll begin the reviewing of all your good deeds and comparing to them all of your evil deeds. This is the realm of the Hall of Judgment. The Egyptians talk about it. All the major religions talk about the Hall of Judgment. The reason this one is more commonly talked about is because now things have calmed down some. They're not quite as intense. And it's easier to be conscious in this state. Whereas to face the original intense beingnesses, or called deities, in the Tibetan Book of the Dead, now it's easier. It's easier to face. Those were very severe. But this Hall of Judgment, any middle grade individual could face this. When your evil deeds are brought up, you will attempt to lie and say, I didn't commit any evil deeds. Another one, huh? This sometimes happens in this life. Huh? Who made this mess? Oh. The other guy. Then these past beingnesses, which have been keeping track of all your evil actions, will bring up in your own memory and show you that what you have in fact done. And lying will be of no use to you now. Then one of these past beingnesses of evil action will torture your present body in the most horrible, excruciating, painful ways. Your body will be eaten and hacked to pieces, but you are incapable of dying. Your body will be revived and the tortures will be repeated over and over again. You're familiar with this, Dante's stories of hell and this sort of thing. This is the hell, but it's all, quote, a mental phenomenon, but very real to the person in the same sense that nightmares and real dreams are as real as life itself. This is the hell that is talked about. But you see, it comes from your own guilt. You say, I didn't do it, and then here's the presentation of that you did do it. So then you suffer to try to compensate for it. The truth is, you didn't do anything. You didn't create anything. You didn't cause anything. You didn't hurt anybody. You never did anything. But only your ego, for its egotistical reasons, wanted to take credit for the things. And I am the cause of things. I'm the one who's doing things. I am the one who's running my life. If you do that, you've got to take the bad with the good. Then you've got to take the guilt. And all the bad things you've done, you did. But in fact, you did not. This is illusion. The truth is that you did nothing. And if you tell the deceased this at this time, he will be liberated from these past deeds that he thinks he did, which were in fact caused by the automatic forces of nature. If you want to think in terms of cause at all. Don't fear these things. Your body, being a mental body and incapable of dying, is in reality a formed up nothingness. Voidness cannot endure the voidness of your body. So, surrender. Let it happen. Let the body be hacked to pieces a billion times. Okay, do it. The moment you do that, gone. The moment you recognize that you did none of this, gone. But just intellectually entertaining it is not enough. Now listen to me undistractedly. In the state that you are now experiencing, the true state of the mind is an empty state. Conceiving and understanding this state is what separates enlightened beings from others. This is correct. A mind with nothing going on in it is a mind free of desire. Because you're not trying to do anything yourself. You're not trying to accomplish anything. You're not trying to get anything. You're not trying to avoid anything. You're just letting whatever is be what it is. This is an enlightened being. What is the truth. If you deny it or fight it, then you will not get the truth. You'll get something else instead that you think you want. If the deceased is an uneducated person and apparently totally unable to control his attention, read the following to him. There's a lot of uneducated people in the world. Not so much in the Western world, but in other parts of the world where this book was used. There might even be a few around here. In any case, to help these people out, we say this. Think of the most able and admired person that you have ever known, and hold on to your thought of him through all the experiencing of the mind, and even though you may be born again, you will not be hurt. So take that loved one, that respected one, that saint to you, hold this image in your mind, and just hold on. If you can't do anything else, take that approach. Not a bad one. At least it's simple. Even though from the previous instructions to the deceased to surrender, it is possible that he did not achieve liberation. It could only be that he has not recognized the truth of the foregoing. Therefore, yet again set about to liberate the deceased by speaking to him as follows. There will appear to you 6 different colored lights, dull white, dull green, dull yellow, dull blue, dull red, and black. These different lights will attempt to attract you to different kinds of rebirth. Ignore them and conceive the highest level beingness that you can think of. Think upon this for the while and let it melt away until nothing remains but the clearness of the mind. And by so maintaining the mind, automatic rebirth into a body will not occur. Enlightenment will be attained. If you can ignore those lights are just symbolic forms of the weaknesses of people, ignorance, lust, anger, etc. Now we come to the actual process of being reborn, the final phase of our cycle here of existence. Herein follow several methods of keeping from being born into a body which would be a member of an undesirable family.